Welcome to Soulful Sundaze. Welcome to Soulful Sundaze, where we are bringing you soul-inspired conversations. And what a better way to do that around the island with my beautiful girls and a glass of champagne. Today, I am your host, Lena Anthony. I have my beautiful co-host, Judy Johnson, and my other one, Ty French.
Hello.
Today, we are going to talk about marriage. So we are about to go on a journey, guys. We are going to give you guys some insight, some wisdom, and just hopefully inspire and empower you guys, because there are so many beautiful marriages in this world. No marriage is alike. Every marriage is different. And let's just talk about the different journeys of what it looks like, and let's explore, you know?
Yes.
So let's get in. Let's get in.
Do it.
I have my amazing Mama Shirell Bryan.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hi, Mama Shirell.
Hello.
Mama Shirell has been married for 33 years, guys.
Come on now.
Yes.
I have my other friend, Ashley Simpson.
Hi.
So let's first of all, let's literally tell how long or how many years have we all been married?
Okay.
Well, I'll start. I've been married for 33 years to just a wonderful husband. And it's really an honor to sit here with you, young, beautiful, newly married. In my eyes, you're all newly married, whether that's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. And just, be able to impart some of my wisdom, some of my experience. I'm very open with and very transparent, because I feel like marriage is challenged today. So we need people that have endured and run the race for a long time to be able to speak into your lives, and you have places where you can go and talk to people, because you're going to encounter some difficult times. You know? So I'm happy to be just a part of
Happy
it.
to have you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. I look forward to the gems that you are going to drop on us
I
today.
should have had my notepad ready. Get your notepads ready.
Yes.
I've been married 2 years, almost 3. But if you ask my husband, he would say it's a long time already. And I'm definitely one that, although I love and value marriage, this time around I was very skeptical. I took my time to make certain that when I said yes meant forever.
Yes.
So 2 years feels like forever already.
I am newly married. I've been married for 1 year. Last October made 1 year. And it's a beautiful, beautiful journey. It still feels very fresh. It still feels, I don't know, I still feel like we're like in our honeymoon, like that stage. And it feels good. It feels good. So I'm excited. Some of you do know this is my second marriage. This is the last marriage. This is the marriage of a lifetime. But because we're going to talk about that, we're going to be transparent. We're going to shed, our journeys and what we went through, and just discover some new things. So that the 33 years will help the 3 and the 1 year, and then the what?
4 years for me. It's been 4 years. I've been
4
married to my
years.
husband, even though I've known him now about 13 years. We met in 2006, but we were just friends. We met in college, and it's been 4 years. And like you, I still feel like a newlywed, because when I go out with friends, I can't wait to get home to my husband. He's my best friend, and I've prayed for this man.
Amen.
And thanked God for him for 7 years.
Amen.
And he is everything. He materialized into everything that I asked God for, and just my best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that I'm here and able to be a part of this conversation, because for a minute there, it was looking like it wasn't going to happen. You know what I mean? As we were getting older, and God just said, here you go. Here he is. And so it's just such a blessing to have him in my life. And 4 wonderful years that they feel like a month. It went by so fast.
Yeah.
It feels like forever, and then it feels like a month. Like I don't remember life before him, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's like 4 years later, but we're going strong.
That's good.
And I have been married for almost 4 years, coming up on our 4-year anniversary. I'm so blessed to have my husband, and we had a quick getting to know you, quick getting to marriage. After just 5 months of dating, my husband proposed to me. It could have been quicker, but he was waiting to meet everyone that I knew. So yeah, we got engaged in 5 months and married 6 months after that, and life just went on a roll, and we're loving it. It's a journey, and I just love doing life with him. It's a beautiful thing.
So it sounds like we're all
cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to love and marriage.
Clink. I gotta say, you said something that's beautiful, and I wanna touch on that because you mentioned. I love the fact that as far as our husbands, because I haven't formally met your husband.
I don't think so.
But I've met everyone else's here, and they are a blessing. They are beautiful. But what I love when I see the unit is I love how the wives light up, because I think they light the path, and how their husbands shine, and they're shining because of the light that the woman brings to the table. So as the beautiful blessings that they are, the power behind the wife is so beautiful, and I just want to acknowledge the power that sits here.
Wow, absolutely. It's all about being your purpose mate. Like you get married to your husband, and you guide them and you lead them along the path, like you said, with the light, because you're part of their purpose. You help them with their purpose, help them move along in life. It's like without us, there are certain things that they are not able to accomplish.
Yeah, that's very
true. And something that Ashley mentioned that I kind of want to ask everybody here. She mentioned that they had a quick turnaround. They dated about 5 months. And so I want to talk about, I want all of us to answer that question. How long did you date before you got engaged? Like, when did you know? And I can start very briefly similar. My husband and I, even though we knew each other in college, we were friends, more so acquaintances, but when we started dating, we only dated 6 months before we got engaged.
Wow.
We just knew, and then we had a 10-month engagement, and then it was our wedding. But those 6 months, and then I'll share a quick story before we continue on asking you guys, but I remember a girl asked me who was an acquaintance too, and she saw, like, and I wasn't very public about my private life and who I was dating. I didn't share that on the internet until I knew this was my guy. And so when I shared him, people were like, oh, this was quick. And this girl texted me and said, well, how long did you date before you got engaged? And she covered it with, you're not trying to be nosy, but, you know, me and my friends.
Exactly what that means.
Exactly what that means.
Right.
My friends and I were having a conversation about it doesn't take long before you know. So she tried to mask it, and I felt some type of way. I would prefer, she just asked me outright and just be honest about it, because she didn't see my life so publicly with my guy. And so, I just found that was interesting, that people have kind of this, it has a stigma behind it, like how long, 5 months, 6 months. So, that was interesting to me.
Yeah, I feel like everybody just have a different journey. I don't think there is a time on how long you need to date. I feel like, so here's the deal with me. So I know that my husband was spirit-led. I know that it was, for me, I was married before, I was divorced. So I remember during my time of being single and just being a mother, I was in my prayer closet every day, just because I know that God created me to be a nurturer. God created me to be a wife. I'm a mother. And I know that for me to be complete, God, that's how God created. He created man and woman. So that's completion. When you're married, that's completion. So I knew that I wanted to be complete. I wanted to fulfill what God created me to be. So I was in my prayer closet every day. And I was very specific on what I wanted and how I wanted. And I was very specific on my husband being a man of God and making sure that he had the same values and that he could bring some great assets to me and what I could bring, and just knowing what I would bring to him. And God honored that. God honored that. And awesome. It wasn't even a year from my divorce that I found my husband. We were friends. We found each other in acting class, and we would hang out with other friends, and we just spent some time just friends. And I promise you, for like a whole year, we didn't know we were going to be married. We were just building a relationship.
Well, let me just interject. Everybody else around Lena and Todd could vividly see husband and wife stepping in the room together. And they didn't know, but we were like, oh yeah, they together. They weren't together.
I promise you, I feel like that energy that everybody brought was literally a prophecy, though. Because we saw each other as just being friends, just building each other. Because the crazy thing about it is we're both from Philly. So we already had that connection. Interesting. And we, from that friendship, and you know, when he met my son, I think that's when he was more interested in me in a different light. But at that time, I wasn't thinking about marriage now. I always said, well, God, when you're ready for me to date, here's what I want. And the rest is history. But I mean, we started dating, and he met my son, and we fell in love from there.
So now, how long did you guys date before he proposed to you?
We dated for 2 years, and he proposed on my 30th birthday.
It was dope. That's beautiful.
She was there.
I definitely gotta say, I think we have similar stories, all of us, because my husband met me, it went down in the DM. Did I say that right? It went down in the DM. No, but like yourself, I had been married. It was a disaster. It ended, it tore me upside down. I didn't want to do it again. I did, but I didn't. I did and I didn't. And I kept struggling with that. So when I started my acting career, I was like, oh, I don't need nobody tearing this apart. But in my personal life, it was pretty jacked up. The dating scene was bad. And I remember when I submitted to say, you know what? I'm not doing this. All right, God. All right. You got me. You got me. I'm willing to do it your way. And not less than 14 days later, it went down in the DM.
Wow.
And what happened was I met Pierre through a mutual friend. All these different things collided. But when I moved to LA, it was 3 months after we were courting on the phone. FaceTime helped a lot. But after meeting him, 3 months and then another 5 months, so 10 months was when Pierre proposed. And it was beautiful because it was on the set of Why I Love You, Brother Major. Beautiful song, almost 100 million views strong. We're getting there almost. But it was a situation where I wanted, but I didn't want. I wasn't sure. But when I saw him, I remember when we were exchanging, I said, I need to hear your voice. There's something about the sound, the vibrations of the thing that provides that confirmation. And that when my family was like, what's wrong? Is you pregnant? You expecting a baby? Why do you need to get married so fast, so quickly? I was like, because you know.
And I just want to say that because it goes back to being spirit led. So that's how you know, like from my marriage or Ty's or Judy's, it was spirit led. It was honestly an answered prayer from God. So the Holy Spirit led us or led our husbands to us. So
if you ask Pierre, he will tell you, I just knew it was something about her. Like when he reached out, it wasn't trying to get contact or trying to get someone to respond. He really felt as if he had to establish a connection, and he wasn't sure why. He just knew there was something about me. At least that's what he said. But
okay, so let me top them all. I've known my husband since I was 8 years old.
Wow. Okay.
And he'll tell you that I had a crush on him. He's 4 years older than me, but he's always had a crush on me.
Wow.
So our journey is quite different. My husband's been married before, and so it was always that difference in age. It was a big difference when you're growing up. But I've always we started out as friends. So being friends is really important because you get to know an element of a person that when you're in the throes of like dating and stuff, you're trying to be all prim and proper. But when you're friends, they just get to see you in the raw.
True.
So that's important. So we actually started dating when I was in college, and it was just, I think about how good God is, because my journey spiritually is so different than you guys', and I totally applaud you, because with Christ being the center, you don't have to bump your head on so many different poles and pillars if you have Christ in the midst. And we didn't. But God is faithful.
Yes.
And He has sustained us all this time, and we've grown to know Him and love Him. So it's that 3-strand cord, which is just so amazing. But I always marvel at how much God loves me, because He gave me a mate who is perfect for me, despite everything that we've gone through. We've gone through a lot. And so I hear you guys talk about you prayed about. I didn't know to pray. I came from a morally sound family, so I had some good role models, but I didn't have that Christ element. We believed in God, but it wasn't relational, But anyway, so
that's interesting though, because I know, like to say, you believed in God, but do you feel that God was still leading you then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In hindsight, when I think about it, I think about my entire journey, even with or without my husband, and I think about His hand. It's so vivid to me now. I didn't recognize it at the time because my relationship wasn't properly aligned. But I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, Lord, you chose me.
Yeah.
You knew that I was going to be sold out for you at this point in my life. And so there's certain things that He didn't allow me to do when all my friends were doing it all. But I had this kind of like this stigma, like I was different. And I see why,
I had that similar upbringing of like, because I wasn't raised in the church, but I always had that pull from God, and that like I know for a fact God's hand was on me my entire life, and prepared me for certain times of my life. But I think like going kind of back to like what you guys are saying, like God put me in a place where I only focused on Him, and I had to develop my relationship with Him in order for Him to mold me into who He had called me to be as a wife. And then when I was prepared for my husband, He sent my husband to me. My husband found me in Christ. And my husband like said, I was a usher at our church, and my husband said that he walked in the doors and he saw me worshiping. And he was like, there was as if nobody else was in the church but me, and it was like the most beautiful thing. And he knew at that moment that I was his wife. But the whole time, like I didn't know who he was, and he just came up to me one day and was like, "Oh, like you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen."
We heard the story.
And I was like,
"Leave
right." I was like, "Good, go take your seat, sir."
I just want to say something real quick, because we keep talking about spirit led. So I just want to, because the world, or some people in the world would say soul tie or soul mate. And there's a difference. So a soulmate, like I can say Judy and Ty are my soulmates, because a soulmate is literally just knitting yourself with another person, and you just and just walking through life and journeying through life with that person. But it's not, it can be a spouse, a friend, a sister, whoever. But a spiritual led mate is literally, it's a spouse, and it's something that only God can ordain, and the Holy Spirit can lead you guys together. So I just wanted to make that clarification so people aren't confused on,
And I love to add to that, because yes, I completely agree. Because sometimes I'll be like, Tennille, this is my sister. I'm like, Tennille, I think you're my soulmate. All the time. But when it comes to being soul tie, the spirit-led soul tie, it's still a choice.
It's a choice,
I think a lot of people misunderstand, like, the marriage component, where you still get to choose who you are connected and tied to. And a lot of people will say, well, God brought me this woman, or God brought me this man. No. God reveal that
Yes.
person,
Yes.
You had
and
a
you
choice.
had to choose
Yes.
that
Right.
person. Now,
Yeah.
if you chose Big Booty Judy, honestly, if you chose the person because she looked that way or he had this stature and it didn't work, and now you're like, well, God, blah blah blah, you did this, you did that.
And that's what's so amazing about His grace,
Yeah.
because the stuff that you guys are sharing, what you knew, what your relationship was like with God, I didn't have that. And that was a personal choice, but that wasn't really modeled. I mean, my family, we went to church on the holidays, you know, and back a couple generations, I mean, there was, I feel, and what I was more exposed to was religion, not relationship, and that's a huge difference. So the moral aspect of what you saw made you think you were okay, because my grandfather was an extremely moral man. My parents, you know, right and wrong, good and bad, those kinds of things. So I didn't have that. And then my journey was being married 6-7 years and, you know, falling in love with Jesus, then trying to rework some stuff, you know, then, you know, my husband looking at me like, what's up with you? You know, because he was raised in the church, but our relationship was never founded in that, you know?
That's good.
So I just went deep, and there was chasm there for quite some time. As Papa Lobi at RCJC Ministries was saying on a live stream the other night, the Lord says that if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And so that's where I was, and I had blocked out everything. So there was this chasm that was growing, and I didn't understand fully about humility and, you know, walking alongside him, meeting him where he was, and being that light that can draw him, you know. So I was I had one foot in, one foot out. I was just trying to navigate my way through it. But God in His grace and His mercy, 33 and a half years later.
That's awesome.
You know,
That was amazing.
And so he is my best friend. I love him dearly. You know, it's kind of cool because I still have these dreams repetitively. I'll wake up sometimes and it's like I'm pursuing him and he's not mine, and I look over and he's mine, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That will keep you fresh.
It's pretty cool.
That will keep you fresh. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I receive that.
Okay.
Because to me, it keeps the relationship fresh.
Yes.
But I wanna talk about, and I wanna ask Mama Shirell, you know, because like, what we got, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 33. So I want to talk about sustaining and maintaining the husband. You know, like what are some of, you know, because in marriages there are a lot of expectations that can destroy a marriage. But then the reality of life happens, and we need to allow God to give us the grace to give our mates the grace so that we can sustain and have a successful marriage. So I want you to talk about, you know, what you guys do to sustain it.
Well,
talk about some of the hardships or whatever you had to go through.
It's again, you know, the moral aspect has been very crucial because my husband came from a family whose parents had been married a long time, and so were my parents. And my parents, both his parents are deceased. Mine are alive, and they're still married. They've been married. I'm 57. They've been married 58 years.
You 57
Wow.
and
Man.
And how long have they been married?
My parents have been married 58 years.
Wow.
So, you know, when
we
when,
receive.
We're like,
Yes.
so when things got tough, I didn't know divorce. All I knew was sticking it out.
Yes.
You know, I didn't know an option. And then, you know, after a year being married, my first son was born, and I came from a family with both of my parents. So the thought of my son, my firstborn, being without both parents, that just didn't rest well with me. My husband had been married before, and he has a son from a previous marriage, and I think even that, he was like, you know, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So there were times where I was over here and he was over there, and and you just kind of, and God kind of knits you back together, and there's always ups and downs, but you figure out a way to work through them. And I think where you guys have such an advantage is Christ is your pillar. So you know where to run. I didn't. I learned that like 10 years into the marriage when I just fell in love with Christ. So I knew then, but even then, I didn't have anyone modeling what that looked like. So that's why it's such an honor to be here, because the Christ element is where I'm rock solid, but I do have the experience. So, people need to reach out and say, well, wait a minute, we're going through this. I'm sure I've been there. And I can tell you, I can give you a glimpse of what it looks like, because it always looks worse than what it really is. And one of the things that I marvel at all the time is the energy I wasted on nonsense.
That is
Nonsense.
a gem right there.
Like, just, it's not even worth it. And I keep mentioning Papa Lovie because he's just so wise, and he's my oldest son's age, and I think, God, how am I learning so much from someone who I could have birthed? But he said to me one day, we were talking, and he said, sometimes you just have to let life happen. That's so key.
Because that's how you get experience.
That's how you get experience, and it's really not that serious. Like right now, I'm so good with me, like, there's so little that can be done that ruffles my edges, because I know it comes and it goes. Like this too shall pass. And we have those seasons where we're just so gelled, and then we have those seasons where we're not as gelled. But I know who I am. He knows who he is. And we know one thing: we are committed.
Amen.
And that's right there.
That commitment.
Committed. And see, today, all you hear about is
divorce.
What you don't have to deal with it. I never had that mindset.
Well, I think it's interesting because it comes down to the good counsel that you have in your corner and in your circle. And I think you guys are all individuals that can attest to when you go through the not so gel moments in the marriage, you're careful. To share information or certain things with specific people.
Because, like Lena said in the beginning, no two marriages are alike.
Right.
So you got to be careful what kind of counsel you get. That's something I had to learn, because oftentimes you're going to hear stuff that it's from a different perspective, and sometimes it's not good. And you have to also consider the source, and where it's coming from.
That's so true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my husband and I,
you have to be really careful, and you really have to see God, because early on in my relationship, had I let me just go back before even marrying Michael. Had I done it the way the world said to do it, I'd have never married him. Because our journeys at that point were so different. I was the SC graduate. He had been married. I was like a mover and a shaker. And so people were saying where I should have been attracted, but I wasn't. And I thank God, because where I thought I might have been attracted, I look at them today, and it's like, no.
I'm like, thank you, God.
And He brought all this wonderful fruitfulness in my life, right? So you got to be really careful. You got to hearken to the voice, and you guys know the voice at a nice, young, tender age. And so, I mean, that's so key.
My husband and I, we said from the beginning, divorce is not an option. Because we know that it's ordained by God. We said it's not an option. So no matter how raw our conversations get, and we never elevate voices. We don't do anything. We don't disrespect each other at all, which I'm so grateful for. But we can have those conversations where it's not a pretty topic, or we have to go through whatever it is, our personal journeys, but we can do it together. And we know that divorce is not an option, so no one has to, walk on eggshells or not really speak our truth, know, and that helps navigate the marriage and hardships, because we know we can be honest and we can say the things that we probably wouldn't say. And even when seeking counsel, even beyond seeking counsel, but just speaking even to my parents who are similar to you, have been married 36 years.
And
you gotta be careful on that.
I was gonna
too.
say,
absolutely.
Yes.
I don't tell my parents every single thing.
And that was I didn't either, but I was doing what was modeled to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then and they're still married and they're wonderful parents and they have a wonderful marriage, but their marriage is not my marriage.
Exactly.
So once I realized that no, what God has for them is totally different than what He has for you and Michael.
Yes.
So you gotta take your eyes off of that, and you don't need to run to them for counsel about how to do this. You need to listen to your husband.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And I love that my parents respect that because we are a close-knit family. The
Yes.
Huxtables, they want us to come to them, and not with our issues or anything, but they just like being included and knowing, how things are going.
And that's healthy.
And it's healthy. And it's healthy that they understand, like, we don't have these expectations for your marriage to be like ours, So
I gotta ask, because you threw that word out there,
Mm-hmm.
and even to Ashley, to yourself, to 1 year. Expectation. Is it what you expected? And
yes and no.
how yes and how no? Yeah, literally how what. And I wish the husbands could speak to this as well, because I know my husband has a lot to say. But what is that for you? Is it what you expected?
I think for my husband and I, like, we went in, like, we have a similar story to yours in regards to how we communicate. Like, we don't raise our voices, we don't we don't argue. We communicate with each other, and I think that helped with our expectations in the beginning. It's like, okay, if we can come together and just talk about every single thing that comes up, that we go through, that that's in our way, or just anything, we're just open with each other, and it just helps us each year to just build and grow with each other, because we're a team and we're not against each other. And so it's like, if I have something in my mind where I'm like, oh, my husband should be doing that, I can bring it up to him. Like, hey babe, like, do you mind doing this? Or I think I can do this. Or, like, you just talk, you communicate. Like, because it's ultimately, you want to keep the peace in your marriage, in your home. Like, when sometimes we are very mindful of who we have in our home, because we like the energy in our home to be peaceful. And so it's like, that's how we communicate. It's like, we just keep the peace. Let's talk. How can we fix this? What needs to be changed? How can I do better?
I wanted to share something. So as far as expectations, I know in my marriage, I had to really let go of all expectations, because I had my husband coming at me like, babe, like, you can't expect me to be this and blah, 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 blah. Like, and I just had to really release it. Because a lot of times what we realize what we're doing is we're bringing in our old situations or circumstances and bringing it into our new situation. And then we're destroying our marriage.
Or what we see on TV.
Because I'm going to just share this. Expectation leads to conditions. Conditions lead to frustration. Frustration leads to division. And division leads to divorce.
The D word. The only D word that needs to be said in the house is...
Okay, we know what that is. But you know what? When it comes to expectations...
I'm sorry, y'all.
But you
I
know
have
what?
those moments.
When it comes to expectations, sometimes they don't seem as harmful, and they seem innocent. And I'll share, like, my sister, who is not in a relationship, and she wants a relationship. And I remember wanting a relationship and the things that are associated with those relationships that we want. And something as innocent as her saying, oh, I can't wait till I have a guy and then we can go on staycations and do this and do that. She's saying all these things that she wants to do. Sounds innocent enough. However, those expectations, that man might not want to do that. He might not be into that. He might not like that. It's something that you should communicate. Even if it seems simple, well, it's fun. Maybe not to him. You know, maybe there's trauma in certain areas or something like that. And so I think that those of you watching, if you're not in a relationship or if you are in a relationship trying to transition to marriage, you have to be mindful of even those positive things that you want to do in your relationships, because talk about them. Because they might not want to do it. And then that breaks down. Those are the conditions. If you don't do it, then
I gotta say that in certain cases, you learn because you're in a situation.
My case.
You don't know to ask these questions. You don't know to self-assess. You don't know you're weak in certain areas until you meet a man that calls you out and be like, girl, you need to be doing blah. I'm like, hold up, chill. Like, I didn't realize there were all these things that I lacked when I was by myself. Man, I was Hercules. I could do it all. It was nothing that I felt needed more attention or not. But it wasn't until, and you're right, you do ask these questions whether you're dating, but when you get into a marriage, you're going to learn things that you could not anticipate.
Right, and we couldn't even tell you.
I just want to share something. So recently, because it's the new year, I kind of do this, like my goals for the year, and I do it with my family. So Ashley would ask me 2 weeks ago, she said, can you tell me, it was her birthday, so she said, can you tell me the things that you admire about me, and the things that I can do better. So I took that home to my husband, and I laid down. I said, "Babe, can you share with me the things that I'm doing good?"
That's good.
But I broke it down not just as a wife. I said in our marriage. I said spiritually. I said in my career, and I said as a family. And I also personalized it for myself. And I let him give me the things that I was doing good. So he praised me, and then he told me the things that I could do better.
Really
and
good.
I thought, and I was like, wow, it was so good because it is.
Yes, it is.
It is. But I was proud of myself to be able to take the constructive criticism. And so now there's no expectations on our marriage because I know what I need to work on. And he knows that I'm working on these things, you know? So I thought that was so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with me because I shared it with my husband.
You always need those. You need the self-assessments, and you need the assessment from your husband, because he's the one that's with you every day. He's the one that's going to tell you the truth. He's the one that sees the good, the bad, the ugly, every little detail about you. And you may not even see it yourself. He may see it, so it's like, okay, help me, because when you help me, that helps us.
Exactly.
Because I'm a representation of us.
That was hard for me because Pierre would have to say, we're on the same team, right? We're a unit. Because a lot of times you go out in the world and you have to explain to the world, no, you misunderstood me. That's not what my intentions. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish. And then you bring that outside world into your marriage. Hold up, that's not what I was saying. This is blah blah. So there is this thing of you're in the house and you feel as if you have to explain or defend yourself all the time, which that expectation and that being able to be open to receive is there. That's something that I know is a work in progress. And it can be hard, but it's being willing to just open up to that environment, opening up to that situation. So
it speaks to humility.
Absolutely.
Ooh, and I'm reading a book on that.
It does. It speaks to humility, and we all know it's not easy. That's not easy. That was a huge struggle for me. Was being humble, but it's so easy. But again, and so what that helps us to do is to break this outer crap, so that the spirit can, lead you, guide you, and it's just a beautiful place to be. I'm not saying I've aspired to be there, but I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
And that's all that speaks to is that humility, and it's so key.
One of the most beautiful things I think in my marriage is me learning more about myself. Even if not even so much that my husband is telling me, just the way I communicate certain things, and I'll say things about myself to him, and he's like, he kind of looks like, wow, you owned that.
And I'm going to tell you what your barometer is when you have kids. You can look at your kids and see so much of you.
Wow.
That's so true.
My husband just told me the other day, he's like, they're all just like you.
Wow.
Like what?
That's a whole nother episode.
Like, thanks for the compliment. And by the way, speaking of compliments, where did you get that? The wrap is beautiful. And I keep staring. I'm like looking at your wrap, not your
This is a Sailor Grace collection.
Oh, your line.
Yes.
A head wrap line, Sailor Grace Collections on Instagram. It's Wear Sayla Grace, and online it's shop.saylagrace.com.
Right. I want to get me one.
Well, Lena, tell us about, don't you have a clothing line as well?
I do. Thank you. I do. I have a clothing line. It's Lena Anthony Collection. It is on social media, Facebook and Instagram, Lena Anthony Collection. It is in stores. Yay!
Yeah. What store? Where can we find it in LA?
It's at Kicks Cartel in Sherman Oaks. Yes.
All right.
Nice. I'm loving this
LenaAnthonyCollection.com.
All right.
I'm loving it.
Yes.
You guys are beautiful.
I just wanted to
As are
thank
you.
you guys.
Thank you.
I just wanted to end really quick. Like I just wanted to, throw something out there. So if you had to say either love or communication or commitment for your marriage, which word would it be? That's
I can't pick them all.
One. You get one. We all gotta pick one.
Okay. I think communication is key.
Okay.
It's key.
Well, can I throw a curveball?
Nope. Sorry.
Because my curveball is respect.
Yeah.
I think when you
Yes.
respect,
Yes.
it embodies love, communication, and commitment.
Okay.
Because when I respect you, I'm going to honor these things.
Yeah.
What about you,
That's
Lena?
good.
Okay. I think I'm gonna have to piggyback off of Judy.
Hey.
Because I had this conversation with my husband recently, and I think he said, he was like, as long as you as my wife respect me,
Yes.
you can have anything you want.
And as long as a wife respects,
Yes, and I make
That's
sure I respect when I communicate. I make sure I'm respectful when I love, and the commitment is respect.
Well, let's say respect is already there. Okay.
Okay,
So
so
now
it's
choose
already
the
there.
word. We all say respect, but what is the word out of the three?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So for me, it would be communication. It would be communication.
Mine would be love communication.
One word.
I said one word. I gave you one. Love communication.
Trademark.
Shirts available after this episode. I'm just kidding.
Wow, I can't top that one. I'm gonna go with communication because that's just the key for our relationship. That's what holds us up. But also, I'm gonna still in love because God is love and that's our foundation.
Yes.
Love communication.
Love communication. That's a word. Love communication.
Love communication.
Love
Hashtag
communication.
love communication.
Thank you guys for
Thank you.
tuning in to another episode of Soulful Sundaze. So full of love, so full of life.
Soulful Sundaze.